Welcome, guys. Episode 34, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I have a treat for you today. Tim reached out to me in my DMs because he saw an interview that I'd done with one of our other podcast interviewers. And he said, I would love to come on and talk about plant medicine, psychedelics, how it's showing up in business. And this conversation got so juicy. Like, literally, I call him my spirit animal in this actual episode because we jive so much. Like, everything he says from the place of owning your truth and stepping into your truth. We go into addiction and how he used to smoke a lot of crack and some of the and his humor is so subtle, but yet it's so potent in there. Like, I could have been laughing this whole entire time. And I am just so grateful that this mission of this podcast is accelerating into the world for me to be able to bring in people like this to talk truth to you about how they've lived through life, how they moved through life, their plant medicine experience. Like, Tim goes into details about that, how he uses it, how he uses microdosing. He is a 6 to 7 figure entrepreneur coach. He literally is a transformational coach that helps people align in their soul's path. Like, he gives this beautiful visual about us living behind the cardboard, right? And pretending to be and stepping into that. We talk about ancestral lineage and clearing the ancestral line, and just such a beautiful, beautiful coming together inside of this dynamic. And I am just so grateful that I get to share Tim Hayes with you today, all the way from Cape Town, Africa, and just so excited for all the things. So again, welcome back, guys. Light Warriors Unleashed podcast, episode 34, hitting your ears right now. Oh my gosh, Tim, like, I am so excited to have you here today. And I love the fact that I don't really know too much about you. So, like, as we get to talk, I get to discover this dynamic male in the world and like the mission that you're on to be able to serve humanity. And like, I'm just so stoked that you're here. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm excited as well. Yeah, it's like raw. Like, I have no idea how it's going to go, but like, that's better. I think that's more exciting, right?
I think, like, I love living life that way because I think that there's a
Mhm.
lot of potency when we can be present and just flow with it. Sometimes when we have a plan and like we outline the plan goes to shit anyways, right? So it's like, I just love
Yeah.
that we can, like, let's move together today and let's figure out how we're going to lean into this.
Mm.
But we kind of got a little bit of a base. Yeah, absolutely. Like, when we started chatting about the dynamics of how we wanted to kind of show up today, we want to talk about psychedelics and moving it through business and the healing dimension, but also like how it can serve the potency of people by using it. And this has been showing up a lot in my world lately. So I'm so happy that we're here to like serve in this energy. But I'd love to start with like your journey just with this. Like, how did psychedelics come into your world? What does that feel like for you? And like, let's go from there.
Amazing. So, when I talk about psychedelics, I mean specifically psilocybin, so magic mushrooms, and ayahuasca. Those are
Yeah, cool.
the two medicines that I partake with. Just to kind of give you a bit of context, I'm a recovered addict, so I used to smoke a lot of crack, which is great for weight loss, but not very good for anything else. Tends to kind of ruin
I'm
your
gonna laugh,
life.
but I honor you, like,
No,
yeah.
no. Look, you know what? Like, there's a lovely saying: we do not regret the past, nor do we wish to shut the door on it. Right? I can't give myself a hard time about the stuff that I used to do in the past. I mean, like, when you smoke crack, you do some weird stuff. In actual fact, my definition of insanity is me with a crack pipe waiting for the whole UK police force that I think are hiding in my garden shed to come out in a thong. I used to wear women's underwear when I smoke crack. I have no idea why. Like, I'm like 193, like 6'3". I'm like 115 kilos, ex-rugby player. I like, right? I look terrible in a thong, but it's just like,
Oh my
and you know what?
God.
I love sharing that story because I shared it once in this men's group, and
Yeah.
a couple of men came up to me afterwards, and they were like, "Tim, I used to wear women's underwear as well when I smoked crack,
Really?
and I've never told anyone." And they were like, "They've been keeping this as a shame," and I'm like, "Dude, like, you do weird stuff, man. It's okay, it's
Oh
okay."
man.
So yeah.
I can only
Finished.
imagine the visual. Thank you for that, and B, like
Sorry.
what that is. Like
Yeah.
I've had my stints with drugs back in the day, but I never did
Mm,
crack, which is
mm,
like I don't know what that experience is like, but the cocaine side, ecstasy, acid, like I was around some stuff. I like
mm,
even magic mushrooms back in the day. Like I didn't do it as a microdosing for actual performance and things along those
mhm,
lines. I did it, let's go get high and play in like a Mario Kart video game. Like that's kind of what it
mhm,
was like for me back in, the early 2000s, 19, the late 1990s, and
mm,
moving that through. So like, I don't know what it feels like to smoke crack or to be in that world, but I can
mm,
imagine the dynamics of the shifts in you, the paranoia, the
mm,
differences of
mm.
personality. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Please continue that story though. Like, oh my gosh.
That's yeah. So I got sober for the first time in 2005. I was like your classic city boy selling tech, and then I thought, right, I need to be of service to others. So I kind of wanted to be a coach slash therapist then back in
Mm.
2005. But I didn't. I was 28. I didn't really want to go back to university, so I became a fitness trainer. Um, and then one day I thought, well, this voice came into my soul whispered to me,
I
right,
love
and it
this. Yeah.
said, it said, you need to help Amy Winehouse, right?
Interesting.
And at the time, I was just like an average trainer working in a gym. I always thought I was very good, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I got her details. Right? I got her agent's details, and at the same time, I wrote to Brittany and Robbie Williams because Brittany was suffering at the time. She never got
Yeah.
back to me. Like Brittany, if you're listening to this, I'm still available, and like your life would have been different had you got back to me. But anyway, we live and learn. And Robbie never got back to me either. And I didn't think anything of it. I literally just reached out and I said, listen, I'd love to be of service. Here's confidentially. I didn't tell her about the thongs, but
You should have.
but I,
Maybe that
I
would have
should,
like gotten you in the door.
I should have, anyway, a couple of days later, her agent got back to me. He said, we'd love to meet you. And then a couple of days after that, I'm sitting in front of Amy. And that was like, that changed my entire career. I love talking about that story because, right, the soul whispers all the time, right? These
All the time.
voices come into our mind. And because we're so like obsessed in the mind, and the ego is so loud, it's like, shh, don't listen to that, don't listen to that, don't listen to that,
Mm.
so like I coach coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, and I always encourage them. I'm like, just listen, like don't dismiss it, just go, right, just take action. Anyway, so then I got into like this crazy world of like, I worked with like the Rolling Stones and royals and presidential families,
Cool.
which was beautiful. But what happened was my ego got hold of me, and it was like, Tim, like you're like this big. Look at you, hotshot Tim, and yeah, and I kind of moved, and I had a really successful business in London. I was making like a lot of money, and I bought a flat, and on paper, my life looked like beautiful,
Yeah.
but on the inside, I was completely disconnected, like disconnected on every level, like from humans, basically, which is an inconvenient thing to be disconnected from. Romantically, very like, am I allowed to swear on here?
Yes, please. We always have
Okay.
ease on all my podcasts. Yep.
Okay. Right. So like romantically very fucked up, sexually very confused, very promiscuous,
Yeah.
disrespecting my sexuality, like everything. Anyway, so then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Because I've got everything, right? I've got everything I was told. But luckily, I suffered from drug addiction. So in 2012, I relapsed. And I say luckily
Yeah.
because there will be people that are listening to this and they're like, yeah, my life looks great as well, but I don't feel very happy. And
Yeah.
that's a hard place to be unless adversity or creation, source, God, whatever your version of, comes and slaps you and says, wake
Yeah.
up, time to
Wake
wake
the
up.
fuck up. Yeah.
Wake the fuck up. So I went through I was 7 years and 10 months clean. I relapsed, everything gone in 2 years, like everything gone, business gone, everything gone, back,
Wow.
on my knees, really, spiritually bankrupt, emotionally bankrupt, financially gone. And I was trying to kind of in and out a bit. And then one day, the last day I used, which was August the 26th, 2014, that was it. I was I'm done. My parents were like on me, and I was like, I'm done. That was it. It was just as clear as day. And I've been clean since. I'll be 9 years clean this year, God willing, in August. So then I went on this. I knew I needed to do something different. I knew consciousness was important to me. I knew humility was incredibly important, and that I couldn't live the life in the same way. And that this wasn't about the external success, although don't get me wrong, I think money is a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful energy, but it needs to be created with humility. It needs to be created in line with source, with creation. So it's like this, just this delicious thing, right? This big juicy cake that we eat, right? And so many people get it the wrong way. And the ego loves grabbing hold of money and then taking you down this little dark road, right? Which is where I went down, which is fundamentally why I do what I do. It's why I exist, to help people like avoid that and just build beautiful lives and businesses and bank accounts from a place of love, right? Yes. Of love. So I got to a place in my recovery a while ago where I felt like it's not that there was anything wrong, like things were going really well, but I positioned myself as a conscious business coach, and I do a lot of reading. Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle, love Ram Dass. And one of his famous sayings is the real work is in the privacy of our own hearts.
That's so
right?
True.
And so my partner went on a psilocybin journey, and she had an amazing time. And I met the healer, this beautiful old woman, like just like you could just feel her presence. You know, she was like a real life Yoda. And I sat with her. And I said, listen, I'm interested, but I'm scared because what happens if it opens Pandora's box? Yes. You know, and when I mean Pandora's box, it does open Pandora's box, but not the addictive one. So she assured me, and I did a lot more research around whether it is gonna, move me back into addiction, and everything was saying no. Yeah. So that said, anyone listening, do your research. Especially if you're recovery, I think it's very important around intention as to why you're going on this psychedelic path. Yeah. So then I did 2 journeys, 2 what they call hero doses. Hero doses are typically 5 grams of magic mushrooms. The first 2 journeys I did was 6 grams, and they were hard. I can only imagine. Like, I'm in my mind, I'm like, holy crap, Yeah. So ego death, traveling to multiple dimensions, deep laughter, deep wisdom, connection with bliss. Yeah. Which is a topic that I love talking about, and I believe, and I'm exploring bliss in more detail. I believe that really we're just intimidated by bliss, and everyone has tuned out of bliss and then spends a lifetime trying to tune in. But actually, we need to focus on not tuning out. It becomes a lot simpler when we focus on not tuning out rather than tuning in. Like we hear all the time, particularly like in the coaching space, like become a better version of yourself. You don't need that. Trying to be a better version of yourself tunes you out even further, and then you create this other version of yourself that isn't you. I love that you brought that up. Like, I use the word remember. So like, we aren't trying to become something, we're trying to remember who we really are. And if we lead in that remembering, because just like you said, it's like it's almost tuning into that, because it's all in us. And multiple times throughout what you just even spoken to, through the heart, you've said that, like, it's all in us, the source of us, the spirit connection within us. So I love that analogy. Yeah. So the second journey, the first was very painful. There was purging. You fast and you do a proper prep, which is 7 days before, and then there was some purging, but they were very healing purges. And then I did a second journey quite soon after, which I hadn't planned on doing, And but I felt called, and the second journey picked up exactly where the last one had left
So
off.
interesting.
Exactly.
Wow.
No visualizations, no nothing, straight into it was a rough ride basically, but what I felt was that I was healing and the ancestral lines of my
Just about to ask that. I
of my
love that.
family. I
Yeah.
could see it. I could see it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel a bit shy talking about this, but I almost felt like I have been called to heal the ancestral lines of my family, which I feel quite emotional sharing, right?
Yeah.
This trauma that has been passed down from generation to generation, or maybe it's not even trauma, these belief systems that are passed down from generation to generation. Anyway, the healer that I worked with, she doesn't like calling herself a healer. She just says, I'm Sally, but she's like a deeply amazing human. She said, your family are going to start to feel this, right? They're going to start to feel it. And honestly, like the reordering of my family dynamic has been like astonishing since this process.
Yeah.
I've got two older brothers. Our relationship has deepened. My relationship with my father. It's been outstanding. So yeah, then I'm like, I'm in. And since then I've done many journeys, mostly facilitated and some on my own because I'm experienced now. And all of those journeys since then have been joyful bliss. Right. I will typically laugh for I did a journey with my partner, and she was like crying for a couple of hours because she needed to, and she was healing. When she came out, I started laughing, and I was wearing like these red tracksuit pants, and she was like, and we were both tripping at home, and she was like, "You're Santa Claus. You are actually you're actually Santa Claus."
I was waiting to hear you say that you put on women's underwear. You know,
no, you know what? I tried it like sober. It just doesn't have the same feel.
effect.
You know, yeah. And they're uncomfy. Thongs are uncomfy. You
Oh my,
know, when you have
I agree with you. Like every time I try to rewear a thong underwear, I'm like, why do we put these on? You know, like it just
but
in my
well, I
mind.
mean, and I've got other things, you know, to take care of in a thong, which really don't go well.
Yeah,
together.
I know, you definitely do. Oh my gosh. I want to touch on this ancestral lineage stuff because I have been watching this pattern, almost, I'm going to call it, because it's consistency that's been showing up. And I really feel that there is a lot of what I call light warriors or light workers in the world right now doing this exact same thing. And some are using you know, the psychedelics to be able to tap in and really get into the root. Others are doing like really deep transmissions and guided meditations without the actual, you know, assistance of the plant medicine. You know, others are just doing some of the deep rooted work inside that space. But I'm finding that this is like a really big dynamic of us moving through our purity of light, right? And really diving in. So I'd love to just hear a little bit more of your context around what that is. And are you seeing that even with your clients? I know you do a lot more business type of work, which I can't wait to touch on how this is showing up in that aspect of things. But like, are you seeing this like rhythm, we'll call it, move through the people that you're working with?
100%, 100%. So I created a method which I launched recently called Primal Knowledge, and Primal Knowledge is all about rewiring the ancestral lines, I think we have two types of belief systems. One has been created through the ego, manifested belief systems, and I'm talking about belief systems that don't serve us. People call them limiting belief systems, but I don't agree with that because all belief systems serve us. Some keep us safe. Then we have other systems which have been created through trauma, or perceived trauma. The more I lean into psychedelics, the more I'm realizing that everything is just a big cosmic joke, and maybe there isn't any pain at all. It's a convenient thing, which is
thank you.
Yeah. So and a lot of the work that I do, you know, I position myself as a conscious business coach, but you know, by you know, most of the work that I do is like this deep inner work, because when you clear this stuff out, you can do anything. right? You can do absolutely anything. The strategy, all these other bits and pieces that everyone focuses on, they're just vehicles to take your truth out into the market, to amplify your truth, right? But if you don't have the tools to step into your truth, doesn't matter how good the strategy is, ain't gonna work. Or if it does, you'll make money and you won't be very happy,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of the clients that I work with, they come to me, I'm like, what do you want? They're like, I want these things. And I can like, yeah, I'm kind of provocative in my coaching. I dip into coaching and mentoring, and I guess it comes from working with a lot of people in recovery. But some people will tell me I want this, and I'm like, no, you don't. You
Yeah.
don't want that. I don't think you actually want that. And they're like, what? What do you mean? Of course I do. Of course I want to make $10,000 a month. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. And most of that is based on this curated cardboard cutout that they have made of themselves, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like it's right here, and they've nurtured it, and it's beautiful. This perception, this thing that looks spiritual, that says all the right things,
Yes.
but it's not truth, And most of that comes from the ancestral lines, the belief systems, the energy, the toxicity that has been poured down from generation to generation. So we need to clear that out first, right?
Yeah.
And we need to clear it out, not look at it, but clear it out and have an actionable plan of like, how do we do that? How does that manifest? How do we take that? It's like psychotherapy, therapy. I sat in it for years. I've got degrees in therapy. I've seen everyone in therapy. Didn't do anything for me other than shine a light on like some stuff. I'm like, cool. Okay, so I'm emotionally unavailable. What do I do with that? Like,
Yeah.
teach me. I'm not knocking therapy. I think it's I kind of am knocking therapy, right?
Yeah,
That's
you
the
can
truth.
knock it. That's cool.
I'm knocking therapy, but I kind of say like terms and conditions apply. Like if if you are seeing a therapist, I'm not discouraging you not to. I just think there are better ways to sort this stuff out.
Well, and I think also too, a lot of people have the fear of actually going deep. So therapy for them is like they just come and talk about it, and then it stays on the surface and they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. I got it out. But they never go into the actual root where the psychedelic journey, or working with like a somatic coach, or moving through like the depth of the spirituality, we can go into the root and go, let's fucking pull this shit up and actually deal with it right now and get it out of the system, honor it, because just like you said, the belief systems are not limiting, they show up in a way for us to learn and be able to move through. And then okay, we got it, we've seen it, we've dealt with it, we're moving through it, let's learn from it and take it and run. And I think a lot of the therapy stuff is just surface level. I've been doing spiritual work for 14 years, and I always say, like, a few years in there, I was doing the surface level stuff. Like, I was like, look at me, I'm going into this dark night of the soul. Yeah, you didn't know what the fuck that was until you actually went in, and
Yeah.
just like your couple first sessions of using plant medicine, like it's like, and I don't know what that feels like in that dynamic. I've been through different other routes, but not ayahuasca's calling me forward. I feel her energy around me. And obviously, I live in Costa Rica and I have a shaman that I'm working with here. So it's accessible.
Oh, I got goosebumps when you said that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's coming forth and I know it. And I just need to honor the timing of when she's ready, or when I'm ready for her, even two or both of us together. Obviously, it's a unity of us coming together to create. But I know it's coming, so I honor that dynamic of your world and how that's shifted into you, we'll say.
I think Mother Ayahuasca is just a beautiful, beautiful, I don't even know what to call it, medicine thing. Just it's yeah. I did a journey 3 months ago, and the prep for it is very important. The prep for it is and quite hectic. I was very sick the week before because of everything that I cut out: sugar, coffee, salt, meat, no dairy products, like basically just vegetables.
Interesting.
And so that was tough. But do you want me to tell you a bit about my journey? Because for me, it's
Yeah, and
like,
I want to I talk about too how it pertains to business because I think that this is
mm,
super cool how you lead in that. So yeah,
mm.
go for it, please.
So I ended up going down this wormhole, a very like fluorescent wormhole, and at the end of this wormhole was this box,
Yeah.
and all the things that I've used over the years to like self-soothe or protect were stuck to the outside of this box. Drugs,
Interesting.
promiscuous sex, cigarettes, sugar, everything, all the stuff we like grab onto to
Yeah.
like self-soothe. And inside this box was the thing, right? This was the thing. This was the thing that was causing all this stuff, all this discomfort. And I was terrified. And actually, subconsciously, I believed that there was like a thing. There was a thing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
This box opens. This box opens. There's nothing inside the fucking box.
I love this.
And I was like, oh no,
Yeah, I
what do
kind of
you
came all the way
mean?
here.
What do you mean? And then the journey for a couple of hours was just like unraveling all this, like
Oh,
this stress, this anxiety, this the thoughts that have fed all this, the belief systems, everything just um, cleared.
yeah.
I had one massive purge, and it felt like like I felt like I was purging like generations, decades, years of like just energy, just pouring out of me. It was
Mm.
like very, very powerful. One of my psilocybin, you go in and you surrender, you let go, you don't go in with an intention. Ayahuasca, you go in with an intention. And there were two things that I wanted to look at. One was um, just some sexual stuff, and the other one was sugar, because I've had an unhealthy relationship with sugar,
Mm.
right? It's been 4 months, sugar's gone,
Love
just
it.
gone, just been removed, right? I
Yeah.
have, it's like the weirdest thing. But, um, in relation to business, like I'm a purist when it comes to coaching in terms of transformational coaching.
Yeah.
Transformational coaching is really, to get the most out of it, you need to fully surrender and let go. It's actually a big ask for a client. It's like, okay, you're going to work with me. I have programs 8 months or a year, and you're going to pay me X amount of money, which is a hefty amount of cash.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you what you're going to get,
Yeah.
and you need to surrender and let go. And that's the truth of transformational coaching. Now, no
This
one
is how
really,
I lead. Yeah. We like
no,
vibrate the
no,
same. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and of course there's a method and there's a process, but
Of
once you
course.
get into it,
Yeah.
a lot of that just kind of falls by the wayside. I've had clients that come in, and after they pay me for 6 months, and I had one, she was, no, I won't mention who she was, but second session I asked a question, that was it, job done. She got
Yeah.
what she needed, and we kind of danced around for like a couple of months, and she was like, Tim, I think our work is done here. And I was like, okay, cool, bye. um and
See
the
you later.
yeah, because that's really what, it's
I
about,
vibrate the same. Yeah.
it's about holding space. And so
Yeah.
what psychedelics have done for me, and I do use microdosing
I was going to
as
ask that
well,
next. Yeah.
they allow me to, my soul becomes louder than my mind and my
Mm.
my ego. I don't even like calling it ego anymore, because ego's got a bad rap over the since the pandemic, and everyone read Eckhart Tolle. Everyone's like ego. You know, everyone's become like a spiritual giant. And I think, ego is great, but let's just talk about the mind. Like half of our mind is selling us shit, and the other half is buying it, right? So the trick really is to listen to the soul and bypass the mind, and then live from
I love
live from
this.
that live from that place. And in coaching, what we were talking about earlier was this cardboard cutout. Well, that's what clients bring, right? They're not aware. Okay, so as coaches, one has to be very cautious of, who are we coaching? Are we coaching this cardboard cutout perceived version, ego created persona of the client? No, that's not what they need. We need to drop in behind that, and ask questions to their soul, to
Mm-hmm.
their subconscious, which they may not even be aware of. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a delicious place to play. Oh, it's glorious. It's
Oh
glorious.
my
It's
God.
glorious. you
You're going to
know?
believe me. I know you're going to believe me, but some people wouldn't believe this. Literally, a hummingbird is flying at this window right now, and there's no flowers here. Like, there's no reason the hummingbird should come to this window whatsoever at all. But she just graced us with some energy
That's
as you were
lovely.
saying this. So beautiful. And I just want to make sure I
Mm,
wrap that bow around it because, like, so like my body was in goosebumps. So much truth behind that, Tim. Like, I love that analogy. I love that
mm,
analogy.
mm, I think it's, you know, we're all here to just exist in a state of joy, right? That's all we really want, right? When all, like, if you ask a question, what do you want? They'll give you an answer. But then if you keep asking, what do you want? What do you want? Eventually you'll get to the word joy or happiness or peace or freedom. There's a lovely saying in Alcoholics Anonymous, freedom from the bondage of self, right?
Mm.
This corset, this wall we put around ourselves. Like when you can, oh, when you can hold your face up to the sunlight of the spirit and live in that place, oh, it's like I'm emotional now because it's so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful, and there's nothing else, right? There's nothing else. That's it. Just do that.
It's that simple, yet we create all these stories around it as humans, like
Mm,
the doing side to us, and we think we need to become this or we need to have more of that in order to, like all of the
mm,
lines. And I so appreciate your heart and thank you so much for like opening up this conversation for us today and like being here because like it's like you're like my spirit animal because like literally everything you're saying I'm like, oh my god, it's like you're confirming my whole life right now in like the last 30 minutes, like, and I'm just like, I love this and I love the
mm.
purity of what you bring right now into this energy. And
Thank you.
I hope I like so I say hope for a reason. If you're listening to this right now, that you actually feel what just happened, like, and feel it into yourself, like that purity of light, like that we can live in bliss, right? We can
Mm,
actually have joy in our life and live there in the joy. How do
mhm,
you, because obviously we're human and we're in this experience, and although you've got a lot of notches on your belt, through the knowledge that you have, meaning like your experiences, the people you've met, the transitions you've done throughout yourself, there's got to be days still that you are in your experience as a human still dropping down into that space. So is there things that you do consciously to help yourself move through again, to remember? Because, we do have our duality or
mm.
polarity or dynamic, we'll call it in this world. So I just love to like hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I am not a perfect human being, thank God. Um, and I call it like the cocoon phase,
Mm,
where like life is going great, right? And it's kind of easy to do things when life is going great, but the trick is when we don't feel that it is. And I've just been through this process where I go back into the cocoon and it's dark and it's sticky and it's uncomfortable. And my ego hates it,
yeah.
and it's kicking and it wants to get out, right? And my it's like a child throwing a tantrum because they don't like the shoelaces that they have on their shoes or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like it's kicking and it's pushing. And that is a very uncomfortable place for me to be. I refer to it as the creation phase where I'm evolving, I'm moving, I'm shifting, which is necessary for for me. And so I talk to God a lot. My version of God. My version of God is I grew up as a Catholic. I don't subscribe to organized religion because I don't think it's particularly spiritual. But no judgment to those that do. So I talk to creation, I talk to source, I talk to Mother Ayahuasca, Mama Mushroom, whoever's listening. Sometimes I
Mama
feel
mushroom.
these spirit guides. They're
Yeah.
generally female, actually.
Mm.
Thank God. And they're around me, and I talk and I listen. The Serenity Prayer is such a beautiful, powerful prayer. Grant me the serenity, right?
Yeah.
Serenity is peace.
Yeah.
Peace. Now that doesn't mean like we're happy all the time, right? That means peacefully peacefully happy, peacefully grumpy, peacefully pissed off, right? But it's humility. Grant me the serenity, the peace to accept the things that I cannot change, right? Anything that's occurred in the past, anything that we believe is going to occur in the future, can't do anything about that stuff, right? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and the courage to change the things that I can. What can I change? Me. How do I change me? By going further in, by listening to my soul, by honoring. And that is, in this modern day society, can be terrifying.
Yes.
Can be terrifying. You know, it's a deeper level of intimacy. It's like I have a beautiful relationship with my partner Lisa, and we have an incredibly intimate relationship. Of course, that's always more. And I remember in the early days, certain things that I would say that were so scary for me, so vulnerable to me. Why were they vulnerable? Because I was expressing my truth, and by doing that, I'm setting myself up for vulnerability. Right now, when it comes to like business and everything else, we kind of understand that in terms of romance, right, and sexuality, where there's a lot of work done on that. But the rules and the principles of relationships, they don't change, right? It's about truth. It's about love, right? And the same goes in business, you know. But yeah, I see people all the time, and I do it myself. Sometimes I still do it. Well, I show up online and I'm like this kind of, I don't know, this weird different version of myself, because I'm fundamentally worried that if I tell you the truth, you won't like me.
Yes.
Right. And so I go through this creation phase, and those times are scary, particularly from a business point of view, because I'm sitting in creation. So I'm not actively going out and onboarding new clients. I'm not driving revenue activities.
Yeah.
And my ego is like, no, Tim, you need to go make money, then you'll be happy. And I'm like, whoa, you know, like, you know, I need to figure this out. And yeah, I just went through it. And like last week, I'm like, okay, cool, I got it. Bang, straight back in again. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But today, and it's weird that you and I are having this podcast. Today, I'm like, I'm out. I'm a butterfly again, and I'm flying, you know. But the difficulty is, I explain it to my clients, it's like this puzzle, you know. And if you ever see a child, I have a stepdaughter, she's 7, right? She quite likes puzzles. Now you get these 2 puzzle pieces, and they're the same color. They almost look like they should fit together, but when you put them together, they don't quite fit. And it's like, you know, if you don't watch yourself, you're going to get angrily like putting them together. And what you may do is just like force them together and like, okay, the puzzle's done, but we know it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or eventually you just lean back and you know, you have another look and you find the right puzzle piece. Then they connect and you're like, yes, I've got this, right?
Yeah.
What does creation do now? It zooms you out and makes you realize that all you've done is just put 2 puzzle pieces together that are part of a much larger puzzle piece.
Huge one.
and it never ends, and it never ends. So I think the trick really is to understand that, actually, that we're never really trying to solve anything. All we need to do is this word is truth.
Yeah.
That's it. Truth. It's presence, it's truth, it's uncomfortable, it's glorious, it's delicious, it's everything.
Yeah, I love it. Such a great visual. And, you know, I use the word juicy a lot. Like, I love that word. It's juicy. Like, it just feels juicy. A lot of my pathway in this world, like my mission on earth, is really helping people find inside of them that truth and align in it and back it up and step into that power and move it into the world. Because a lot of us have been conditioned to stay in our box. Society, our parents, ancestral lineage teaches us this, like everything we've talked about today. And we've been living in a truth that someone told us to live within that isn't technically ours. And we're coming out of the shell now, and we're watching it float through humanity, where people are questioning the dynamics around them that are like, is this actually my truth? Is this real? You know, and now we're stepping into this movement almost, and we're seeing it show up. And I love that you brought it up multiple times today about really leading in that truth. And expressing it into the world. And I talk about courage all the time, having the courage to do that because of the conditioning, because what will other people think? Can I show up in business this way? You know, I remember this story
Mm,
one of my girlfriends told me years ago. She's like, you can't go into that, you know, business wearing ripped jeans and your high heels. And I was like, fucking watch me. Because I
mm,
was like, I'm not putting on a hoity toity suit because you think I need to wear one. That's not who I am. Right. And
mm,
like, even in Costa Rica, like, I would never have shown up on video before in a tank top. Now I
mhm,
teach in tank tops. Like, I'm like, sometimes I'm just in a bathing suit and I'm cool with that because that is
mm,
me. And if I have
mm,
to pretend to be something that I'm not, then I'm not vibrating in my energy of truth. So
mm,
it's cool to see like the mission that you're on, Tim. And like, when people are just about to discover this, like they are right at the cusp, if you remember, you know, your pathway and how it showed up for you in your world, what were some of the key things that you were like ready to bust out of? Let's say like you were like ready to step into this and the whisper kept whispering to you. There was something I feel like in that for us to share today. And what it is, I don't know, but you'll find it, I'm sure.
mm. It's a good question. I think so. I never really became a fitness trainer to help people get fit. I became a fitness trainer because I wanted to help people. And I
Mm.
spent 15 years, people would come to me and, you know, they'd say they want a nice bottom. And I'm like, yeah, there's a bit more to it than this. Because I knew that I could do that and I was
Yeah.
very good at it. And that, like when they got there, like they weren't like, you know, the bum didn't do it for them, right? I've got
No.
nothing against bottoms. I think nice bottoms are very important. Um, so so I always felt like a slight disconnect, right? And you use the word honesty, and I wasn't being honest with myself,
Mm.
right? But I built this life up, and I just didn't, I knew, but I didn't know because I hadn't spoken to anyone. Then after my relapse, I got clean again, and I kind of got rid of all the big clients, and I launched this app. It was like an Uber model for fitness and wellness professionals. It was going to change the world. That was my intention, was to really shift fitness into a place of spirit focused,
Mm.
soul focused, which I don't think is possible, right? Because people do fitness because they want to look hot. That's cool,
Yeah,
right? Most of the
I
time,
can
they may
imagine.
say no, but I want to be strong. But generally, it's like, yeah, but you kind of want nice triceps or whatever it is. And so I was sitting around this boardroom. We'd raised 500,000 for this app, and we were in Saatchi, an ad agency. We were on their accelerator program, and we had like the guys, like big marketing guys, and everyone introduced himself. And I'd been spun up as like this celebrity trainer, and it got to me, and everyone kind of listened, and I just started crying.
Oh my
I
God.
just started, I just started crying, and I was like, you know what? Everyone's looking in the wrong fucking direction, and I
Mm.
just want people to be happy. And
Yeah.
it was at that moment I was like, Tim, you need to step into your truth now and start helping people to live that life. And a question that I ask myself a lot is this really true?
Mm.
Right? Because we can hide behind truth, right? That can
Yes.
be, I'm very good at, I did it, like the thong story. I told that in rehab, and everyone would be like, wow, Tim, you're so honest. I can't believe you told me that you can wear thongs. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not telling you that I'm scared and I don't know how to ask for help, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I
Yeah.
kind of masked this truth. So that was a profound moment for me. The second moment was also around romance and love. I'd always believed that I was emotionally unavailable, right?
Mm.
And guess what? I hung out with emotionally unavailable people, so it was very convenient for me because I could only show them as much as they were willing to receive. Until I realized that actually that was just a big cosmic joke, and I just made that up
Yeah.
because I was scared.
Yeah.
Um, and I started to lean into that. I'm not sure if I answered your question. What was the question again?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? I think
So
it.
yeah, you totally did. It's perfect.
Okay, cool. I think it was around truth and my journey into
Yeah,
truth.
and
So
that's what it was. Yeah, it just dropped
I,
back in.
I think fundamentally most people know, Most people know about the truth. Most people know if they're in relationships that aren't working, they kind of know it's not working.
Yeah.
They're in careers that they don't particularly like. They know, most people know. And I think that's a good place to start. But once you open Pandora's box, which is why so many people don't courageously shift,
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
you know, many people, I've worked with millionaires and billionaires who, in order to get happy, need to leave their wife, they need to leave their friends, they need to shut their businesses down, they need to do everything because everything's been created around this persona that isn't them, and that's too scary. So they just stay where they
There
are.
they are. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you understand that what you're doing is not your truth. Then it becomes possibly easier. You know, it's like insanity is expecting the same thing, repeating the same result,
Yeah.
right? That's insanity. But if you know that what you're doing isn't serving you, at least be honest about it and go, yeah, okay, you know, this isn't great, but like I'm aware of it. Don't like be dishonest. That's just like silly.
Yeah. Well, and I also like, and while you talk, I'm going through conversations in my own mind and parts of the times that I've had to step into this too, to be like, shit. Okay. Like I've created this whole entire thing. Like it's time to own it now. And now to move through it to get to the other side. And I have, like, I've been doing this work for a long time, just like you know, the journey of self and going in. And I'm not shy about calling myself out on stuff to be able to move through dynamics, but I have a large awareness around it now because I've been doing the work. And there's a lot of people out there that I think are desiring to now move through, and they're ready because like spirit, God, you know, is calling on us now to step into this purity of light to help humanity. And we can't ignore it anymore. You know, just like we said, like that 2x4 is coming across our face going, God's like, wake the fuck up. Like it's time for you to step in. Like enough about this bullshit that you've been living in your life. Like it's time to have meaningful connections or to get the life you desire or to live in that flow within you that you want, in that pleasure and bliss and all the things that you really desire. It's possible. But yeah, we've got to do some of the mind fuck work too to get out of the mind. Like you've been saying this whole time. I'm like, oh my God, like the way you put it, like in that cardboard image, I was like, I could see that cardboard. And like, I'm like you, I go behind it, right? And then I rattle the chain over here and they're like, okay, I see it. And then the next day I'm like, dude, you're behind the cardboard again. And I never saw it that way until you just brought it into my awareness. But I feel like the collective is like, we're right there almost, you know, at least like we're right there. And I know that you use a lot of the plant medicine to assist in some ways to be able to push the edge kind of over. How do you see like it showing up in the business structure? You touched a little bit on microdosing to be able to pull out of the mind and into the spirit side. Do you find that that's a protocol that you love to enhance inside of your coaching, or like I'm watching some entrepreneurs really use it. And I'll speak to this real quick. The other day, I was channeling a manual for the Akashic Records certification program I'm teaching. And literally, I'm working with the keepers of the records, and their energy is like, wait, it's like I'm traveling and astral traveling, trying to be a human at the same time. So I dictated it all because that's the only way it was going to get out properly. And then when I went to edit it, I'm obviously still in the energy. I'm like, what do I have like I can focus here? Like I'm taking some lion's mane mushroom. Like I'm trying to get into my body because I'm all over the map in that perspective. But I just would love to hear, as I just gave you 500 million things to talk about, what's coming through you to speak to like that dynamic of plant medicine in business, the microdosing side, and like all those things, wherever you want to lead, really.
So the integration of plant medicine is very important and often not talked about because of the layers that it reveals in a short period of time, you know, 3 to 4 hours. And so for me, micro dosing keeps me connected to the integration of the wisdom, which can be obvious initially, and sometimes it may take 6 months later for it to drop in and you go,
that's why.
Okay. You know, it's like having a very powerful coaching conversation and then being left to just go without any accountability. I use microdosing often when I'm creating creating, like I'm launching a new program, and I felt a bit stuck in my head and in my ego.
Mm.
Like I was trying to people please. I was trying to like maybe sound like some other people. There was like it was like a mix of stuff, but it didn't feel right. And I could feel, because I meditate and I know what soul feels like. I know what the spirit feels like. This didn't feel aligned. So in this instance, and this happened like about a month ago, um, I just took the day out. I went into nature, had a conversation with some trees and things like that, and creation. And it wasn't really like intentionally planning anything other than I knew I wanted to create this thing. Then I got back, I microdosed, I meditated, and I sat in front of my whiteboard, and I actually recorded it on time lapse, and I just went. I was like an artist. I was like ba 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 ba, and then as soon as I felt like my mind kick in, I stopped.
Yeah.
And that's a really important thing. I stopped. I sat back down. I meditated, I connected, I prayed. Help me see the truth is one of my favorite prayers, one of my favorite
Mm.
mantras. Help me see the truth. Help me see the truth. Maybe I say, or I might just say truth, 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 truth over and over and over again until I feel like the juiciness or the deliciousness on the inside. And then I go, and then I go again. And then at the end, I'm like, I sat down and I felt like I don't know, Picasso. I was like, this is it. This is beautiful. This is going to change humanity. This is the thing. That was actually primal knowledge that I created. And that was something that was in my head for like a long time, but I was scared to put it out
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the world. And so for me, that's an example of how microdosing can serve um,
Mm.
me. I think that the most, and I know there are a lot of people that reach a state of bliss and connection with soul without psychedelics. I
Yeah.
believe it's possible. I just like, well, let's fast track that shit. You
Yeah.
know, why not? Um,
Well, that's
and
my experience, right? I almost feel like, so when I started microdosing, I couldn't actually do anything. So
mm,
I tap in, like, and I have learned to surrender so much that I go like, and it drops and it drops and it drops and it drops and it
mm,
builds this beautiful imagery for me. And but that is a learned ability almost, because of the fact that
mm,
I step out of the human just immediately and go. The way I send emails, the way I create everything is done in that
mm,
energy, where it was almost like microdosing for me completely took me out of my normalcy of that. And I was like, well, I
mm,
can't handle life over here. So it was
mm.
interesting, but I know what it can do for people. And I love that you brought that up, and thank you for that. Yeah. Beautiful.
I have felt what you have felt as well, in that
Yeah.
sometimes I microdose and I don't feel creative. I don't feel
Yeah.
connected, and I feel like perhaps it's my spiritual state, and also the grabbiness of sugar and coffee. You know, those are
Mm.
stimulants, and mother mushroom does not like stimulants. It doesn't like caffeine. It doesn't like sugar. So I
Mm.
definitely, and I feel I went on a journey once. It was a fairly low dose, like 2 grams, and I have this beautiful Buddha that I brought back from Thailand. And I was like trying to like get into bliss and stuff, kind of forcing the journey. And I looked over the Buddha, and the Buddha had his arms crossed and was just nodding his head, like
Yeah.
touching me, like tut tut tut, Tim, like don't force this kind of thing, you know. So I do think sometimes that with microdosing we can have an intention, but with mushrooms you mustn't have an intention. You must
Right.
surrender. You must
Okay.
surrender. So I feel like perhaps what you were experiencing, or certainly what I've experienced, is like, okay, I've had this beautiful creative experience then, now it's going to be the same, so I'm going to microdose. So there's the
Yeah.
intention, you know,
Yeah.
there's the intention, and that conflicts with the medicine.
So cool. And I love, thank you for that, like, and for bringing that forward. And I like, obviously everyone has their own experiences too. So
Mm,
depending on dosage and what they're like, all of that. And obviously we're not here to give advice in any of that space of it. Like, everyone has to
mm,
discover it on their own, just like you said, like doing the research and finding what pulls you and calls to you. And what to be using, because there is multiple other platforms too that we haven't even spoken to that some people are more drawn to, potentially like the bufo experience, or like, you know, the other different types of medicinal ways that people can use psychedelics. And it's a common thing. Like, I'm in Costa Rica for a reason. I moved here in October, and people are like, why did you move? Intuition told me to move, and I knew I was coming south. Like, I'm Canadian. I didn't know where I was going, and then it dropped in, and then it was like, you're moving to this place called Uvita, and I'm like, I never even been here before. Like, I just trusted the process, and I understand why I am here. Potency of my power, like connection to the earth, understanding what it is to be a human in this experience where I was doing human in Canada. And it was almost like forced upon us. Like, I'm sure Cape Town probably has a different vibration than London does, or the
Oh my
UK in any
God.
dimensions, right? So like, we're drawn to things. So it's just, I highly encourage everybody to follow their intuition, to lead with that soul whisper, and follow and get curious about life, and maneuvering through. Tim, I feel like you and I could just riff off for like 500 years and be here,
Yes.
like, and just talking about all these crazy experiences that we go through and all of these things. But I want to hold space, for your time and for everyone listening too. So a couple things that I want to kind of touch on a little bit. You have a specialty coaching, transformational work you do some business stuff as well inside of the dynamic. Obviously, we're going to have your links in the show notes, but is there anything you have going on right now, or anything that you're feeling called to kind of share with humanity at this point in time?
This question came up when you were talking earlier, and I think, like, there may be people listening, and a lot of what we're saying will resonate, but they might not know where to begin.
Yes.
And I think a great question to put out, which is actually a very intimate question, is, I don't know. I don't know. It's a wonderful place to start. I don't know. Because by reaching out to someone and saying, you're saying, I need help, by reaching out to someone, I need help, I don't know. That's a wonderful place to begin. And I wish I was given that advice a long time ago. You know, I think the business world is seeing a great shift in terms of consciousness. I think the word authenticity, it's funny, I've seen it around for like a few years, like, be your authentic self, right? But most of the people who talk about it haven't got a fucking clue what authenticity means.
Yes.
Right. And now people are using the word truth because it kind of sounds like a bit fancier, which is kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. With business, and specifically coaching. Like, I love coaching coaches. That's the vast majority of my clients are coaches, because I like being of service to people, and I can help them better themselves in terms of coaching, moving past the ego and coaching the soul, and then they get to grow beautiful businesses and help more people.
Yep.
But the biggest challenge that I see in the entrepreneurial space, in the business space, is really about being courageous enough to say what you really want to say. You know, and I think it is so simple. The word truth is so simple, but we could, like you say, we could spend the next year talking about it. And so we all need to just slow down, right? Yeah. We all need to move away from this hustle culture, right? It doesn't work. You know how we all know wealthy people who are really miserable. I was one of those people, right? Yeah. But now Mother Nature, with everything that's gone on in the world and that's going on in the world, like, look around, right? Creation is like, I have a koi pond, I have koi fish, right? And when I clean it, all the mud goes up, and the water is like, you can't see the fish, right? And Mother Nature is calling on great humans now to stand on stage and to be of service to others. And if you are listening to this and you feel called and your soul is whispering, please step in, because there are so many people out there that need this. There are so many people out there that need this. I have goosebumps. Like, it's so important, you know? Yeah. Like, think of it like this, right? There are people, you know, I know great coaches and they're scared to level up or whatever, or great people. And I'm like, but can you help someone shift faster than they can on their own?
Yeah.
The answer is always yes, right? So let's not be selfish. Let's not get caught up in this or that. Let's just be of service and just go love lots of people. Go
Mm.
love lots of people.
Such a fabulous way to like really summarize everything that we've been just like chatting through and with. And you know, before I even knew my mission and before I was even consciously in awareness of anything, I always said my job in the world is to light lights. And if I can get you lit up, you then can go help light the lights of others. Right. And
Mhm.
my job isn't the lights you're supposed to light up. That's your job. My job is you, wherever that is.
Mhm.
And this podcast is a light. And I am so grateful that you saw it, were inclined to message me, and you are here now because the power, like I feel this power, and I'm like, I'm going to
Mhm.
go back and re-listen. And I hope people caught your subtle humor too, because I could have been laughing my ass off over here at some of the stuff that you were saying, and you didn't even make a crack in your like smile or anything. You were just like throwing out these one lines, and I'm like, oh my god, I wonder if anyone else caught this, because I'm like, I could be like over here laughing. So if someone's inclined to know more about you, I don't know, do you promote the psychedelic world in your messaging and stuff, or is this kind of just you were called to share here today? And I know that you had said like you haven't really spoken like this before about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Where can like people can find you on Instagram for sure, but like what do you got going on when it comes to like this side of everything we've talked about? Can people reach out? Do you have programs? What do you got? What do you have happening?
Yeah, so I have a group program for coaches, ambitious coaches, gifted coaches who really want to amplify their truth and have got caught up in the business of being business in their heads and this version and all the things that we spoke about.
Yep.
Um, and then I work one-on-one with clients. The one-on-one program is much more focused if they feel called to implement psychedelics. I don't facilitate the journeys.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm cautious around it because the country that I'm living, it's like against the law.
Yeah.
Um, but but my one-on-one programs are very tailored. Like this is more about people who really want to delve into consciousness, who want to explore the depths of their souls and then learn how to courageously live that and emanate that out. And people can, yeah, they can find me on my Instagram or other platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll make sure all the links are there. And if there's anything else that you desire to share
Mm.
out with them or something, we'll make sure all the links are there for people to be able to connect with you.
Mhm.
It's been amazing. Is there anything else you'd
Mm.
like to leave the collective with? Any parting words flowing through your energy?
I think just easy does it, you know,
Yeah.
easy does it. I love this world, I love this space, but it's being a bit overplayed. People like, I was listening to two people talking the other day, and they were talking like very woke spiritual people,
Mm,
but I felt I almost couldn't stop laughing because they were not speaking their truth. You know, they were
yeah.
like everything they were saying sounded great, but it wasn't. I felt like leaning over and going, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you don't
Yeah.
even know what you're saying,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I just encourage people to just go in and go, yeah, what is it? Like,
Mm,
is this real?
yeah.
Is this the truth? I think that's a good place to start. And then reach out and go, I don't know. I don't know. Help me, you know?
No
Help me.
idea. You know, like, and I
Yeah.
love being in that position. People ask me all the time,
Mm,
well, what are your plans? I don't know. I really have
mm,
no idea. And I love
mhm,
that. I love that I don't have an idea, because then I'm
mm,
not put into something that I think I need to be, you know?
mm,
So
mm,
I love this perspective. The one word I want to leave everyone with is discernment. Follow
mm,
what feels right for you and trust yourself, because it's
mm,
all here. Just like Tim's been telling us and sharing with us, we have it all in here. And that truth radiates through us, but we doubt ourselves consistently all the time, which is not where we desire to be as humans, we'll say. Yeah.
mm, mm.
So this has been amazing, Tim. Thank you so much for
Thank
like
you.
sharing this info, your light, your passion, your purpose, and everything on this. And yeah, I just can't wait to see how you maneuver through the world and like stepping into this. And I can't wait to stay connected, because I just love that
Yeah.
I've got like another being in the world in my life, like doing amazing things. And I just
Mm.
love having that in my space. So for all you guys listening, again, thank you for being here, and we'll see you guys all in the
Thank
next
you.
episode.